to feel like Formula One is I don't understand the rules.
The greatest Formula One champion of all time.
And Formula One is that it's like a traveling
circus of Spain
and adrenaline.
Except I am from Formula.
People know NASCAR, but people don't, because Formula One is like, it's a whole different thing.
Box and pick and firm, and welcome to the Redefined F1 show, the show where we put American subtitles on the sport of Formula One. I am your host, Frederick Kernigan. With me, as always, my co-host, Michael Zimmerman.
What's going on? I realized I didn't have anything to enter. I was like, oh, dang it, I forgot.
That's right. This episode, we're talking all things Australian Grand Prix. First, or before we start reviewing the race, we're gonna we have some points to give out ourselves, Timmy. We're gonna, throughout the season, I guess starting 2 races late, we have 3-piece predictions, and we're gonna give each other points or keep track of how many predictions we have right throughout the season. So we both scored 2 points. So, starting off the season even 2-2. My first prediction that ended up being right was the Mick Schumacher placing higher or finishing higher than Kev in the race. It was literally by 1 position. Mick Schumacher 13th, K-Mag 14th. But hey, it's correct nonetheless. My second correct one was 2 DNFs during the race. We had a total of 3. Granted, I think the 3 that ended up retiring, I don't know if we saw the 2 out of the 3, Max and Carlos. I didn't see them not finishing. Maybe Max, but Carlos ended up getting stuck in the rocks.
Yeah.
And just cruising. And then the 3rd retirement was Seb, but we'll get onto his really rough weekend. And my final prediction, which ended up giving me 0 points, almost went 3 for 3, perfect. But Alex Albon decided he just wanted to ruin my parlay, I guess, if we're talking in betting terms. But he technically outqualified Latifi and then proceeded to get disqualified from qualifying. So I had the point in my hand, and then Albon said, no, I'll take that away from you.
So that's some bad beats right there.
Yeah, bad beats.
I've seen some.
So I went 2 for 3 for the weekend. Timmy?
Yeah, so my predictions, the one that I didn't get was the Alpines fighting. Unfortunately, they never were even close to each other throughout the whole weekend. Alonso had a faster pace during quali, but then crashed, and then during the race he just got caught up in like traffic, and Alonso just had so much more positions ahead of him. So unfortunately, that was my one miss. But the 2 that I did hit on was, I'm trying to think.
The McLarens, both McLarens get points.
Both McLarens getting points, which was fantastic.
Yep.
I was not actually expecting that one to hit.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt that would hit, but I was thinking like Norris, good points being like maybe 6th, maybe 5th, and then Danny Rick sneaking in for like a 9th or 10th.
Yeah,
but they both did pretty well.
It was 6th and 7th, or 5th and 7th, I believe.
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th,
yeah.
Nice.
So great points.
And then my other prediction was
Seb return in style.
Oh yeah, Seb return in style. Okay, so this is like a little.
So last week I said that we would be here debating if he got the point, but me and Timmy throughout the weekend we discussed. I gave him the point as soon as the first. I'll let you explain it.
As soon as Seb got the fine of riding the scooter on the track, that's return in style. Like, nothing is more American and badass than getting fined for something that you shouldn't have been fined for.
Got the Roger Goodell treatment.
So that was definitely in style.
So I have a few thoughts on the Seb thing. First of all, Seb, I want to thank you for about like 5K views on our TikTok. That, and then secondly, apparently in the write-up of the FIA giving him the fine, like the official write-up, they wrote, as enjoyable as it was, don't do it again. I'm like, if dude, I hate
Boo.
these
Boo.
corporations using like these good moments and then still like penalizing the team.
Yeah.
Because I think NCAA, when they brought back the taunting rule, like some kid or some kickoff returner took one to the house, and then they celebrated and they posted, the NCAA page posted like celebrating with your teammates, and it's like they're like advertising the thing that they outlawed in the sport.
Yeah.
And so I was like, boo FIA for that one.
Boo. Yeah, it's like just do a little slap on the wrist, you know,
Yeah.
like you
It's
don't need to
Seb.
fine him. Yeah.
It's Seb. Come on. Also in the previews, we addressed 3 storylines as well as the championship fight. So I guess we'll start with the championship fight, since that's probably the quickest to address. Not really much of a fight right now.
Nope.
Yep.
It is a
Charles is saying chucking up the deuces and saying peace.
Charles is like Tyreek Hill when anyone trying to catch him. Like he's just like later, like I'm out of here.
Yeah,
like, not even close.
He was in a world of his own this weekend.
Yeah.
And in the championship, he's I think 30 some points or 40 some points
Yeah,
ahead
30
now.
or 40 points ahead.
Yeah. So
second place, who is actually
surprisingly
not Max.
George.
Yeah, George. So but we'll get into that more, I think, later.
Yeah. So not really much of a championship fight, seeing as Charles pulled clear, and then Max, as we'll get into later, he ended up having his unfortunate retirement. Me and Timmy both missed it live. I went to go grab ice cream because it was like midnight for us Americans on the West Coast. So I was hungry. I had the munchies. I'm gonna go get ice cream. I walked away, came back, and Max is getting out of his car, and apparently Timmy had also come back from whatever. What were you doing?
I went to go use the restroom. And as I was like coming back, I stubbed my toe. So I was just like in pain, and then I sit down and I go like, what the heck happened? Yeah, but I'm unaware that Max, his car caught on fire, and
Yeah.
I didn't see what exactly happened, but I think it's another engine problem with him.
Yeah, they're talking about in the post-race stuff. The universal storyline that we had talked about in our preview was Daniel Ricciardo's triumphant, or I guess we could say it now, triumphant homecoming. Woo! But you know, a week before yesterday, we were like, oh my God, I think McLaren is gonna struggle. But
it was nail biting, like, oh, is this gonna be a good return home, or is this gonna be a toilet bowl disaster? Yeah. But thankfully McLaren, they took the week off and they did everything they could to get this car back to where we thought initially it would be before the season actually started. So hopefully they keep trending in the right direction. And I mean, it's a long season, so they're running the mix of the midfield, which is where we thought they would be.
Seeing as they both scored points, and like we had mentioned earlier, we both suspected or expected Daniel to be barely scraping points, but he ended up getting 6. And I think that's a testament to how they had the car set up. I think both of them, but more so Lando in the post-race stuff, was saying how, you know, it's just track dependent. This and Jeddah are kind of tracks that help them because they really haven't brought any upgrades. So
no,
yeah, I think the changing of the layout, making it faster, really benefited them.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see like what tracks they have advantages on, and like what tracks they kind of aren't able to perform as well.
I think another point with this whole like Daniel Ricciardo homecoming, even though he didn't beat Lando, or like nor did he get like a podium spot, which like the Australians would have went crazy over, he still did very well. Like there was a point in time for a good chunk of the race where he was literally like Lando's shadow.
Yeah, and P6 is like, comparatively to the last 2 races, is a humongous victory, like an amazing return home. Like I know everyone else probably was expecting not P6, but way below P6.
Yeah.
So thankfully they came through. The pit crew came through too.
Oh my God.
Both stops were under 2.5.
I think
It
they're
was
both
2.5.
2.4.
Or were they both 2.4s?
I think so, yeah.
Which were the fastest pit stops of the race, which like they're on it. They're like, we are making sure we get points.
I think
and we're not
McLaren
screwing this over.
also had good pits in the first race, because I think the first race Red Bull surprised me when they averaged about like high 2s to like low 3s, and I think McLaren's have comfortably stayed within that low 2 or mid to low 2s, which is
The storyline that I went into going into the race was seeing if Haas would be able to keep it up, keep the point streak alive. Unfortunately, they were unable to.
That's okay.
They had a tough weekend. They had it like just throughout practice and qualifying. They just weren't really able to figure it out. And then they were hopeful for the race, but just couldn't pull it through. But a positive note for them, Magnussen did have the most overtakes with 7 on the race, and Mick was able first time out positioning him or finishing in a higher position this year. So there's some definitely good positive takeaways from the race. Maybe this like was a track that like didn't benefit their car where the other two tracks did, or maybe they're just kind of deteriorating kind of what people were expecting their car would.
I think Gunther is being a team manager and being like, hey, push as much as you guys can, but be smart about it. Yeah. And so, because I don't think there should have been a reason why they like such a huge drop off, because Kevin was strong last race. Mick looked strong up until his crash, and then his pace just kind of disappeared in the race. So this track also being a faster track, I thought they were going to continue, or at least one of them was. I said Mick was going to be higher, so maybe a Mick P10, but they both were comfortably out of the points.
Yeah, well, Magnussen was dealing with some type of sickness.
He was a sickie.
Yeah,
sickie
so
boy.
he wasn't 100%, and Mick, first time on this track, so I mean he doesn't have the experience that some of the other drivers do driving. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Layers to it, yeah.
But hopefully they're able to kind of like get back on track and then come back in the next race to getting points. I'm really hope that Mick gets some points this year. That's all I care about, really.
Before we move on from your point, I just want to say I knew my prediction was going to hit about Mick out qualifying Mag as soon as Mick went and toured around the Australian zoo with Steve Irwin's son. I was like, two legend sons meeting, it just has to happen. And that happened on Thursday. I was like, this is an easy dub. Let's go. But going on to my storyline that I'd focused on, the preview of the Australian GP, I wanted to kind of shine light on the struggles that not only Mercedes as a team, but Mercedes as a supplier was facing. And I guess looking at it specifically as the Mercedes team themselves, so it's kind of weird because I think they're starting to get stuck in no man's land right now. Like, this is before a whole bunch of upgrades hit for quite a few teams, but they're obviously not Red Bull and Ferrari. But George and I guess Lewis had mentioned that like they got third and fourth, and they said they weren't even the third fastest car. They said they were the 5th fastest. And so if they're already saying that, I think that's slight sandbagging. Like they're trying to like hype up their win, because even the McLaren boys came on and it was like, yeah, we thought we could compete with the McLaren or the Mercedes, and then they reminded us that they're just a step ahead. And so, hey, they're kind of in this weird no man's land right now.
Yeah, they're definitely way like behind Red Bull and Ferrari, but I think they're a couple of steps ahead of McLaren and Alpine as of right now, where it currently stands. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see once the upgrades and like changes come through, how much more pace it'll give them, and maybe it gives them what they need to actually be able to contend for podium week in with week out without having to rely on Max or someone
unfortunate
or Carlos,
event.
like retiring, because that's the only reason, because they needed two two cars from Red Bull
The top two
or
teams, yeah.
Ferrari to retire in order to sneak into third. That was both in Bahrain and then this race, Australia. So yeah, they're not gonna, as of right now, they won't be making podium on their own right, like with straight pace and straight racing. They just need to get lucky, and they've gotten lucky twice now. So it's better to be lucky than good. That's what people say. So
Yeah.
but you can't. It's not sustainable whatsoever.
I think it's interesting seeing how they're performing, and then even how their customer teams performed, because McLaren suddenly they said it was track dependent, but they look better. So I guess it's just more signs that it isn't the Mercedes power unit struggling. It's probably the other parts attached to it, like this suspension, and so it's interesting that they're doing well. And then the third team that they're supplying, Williams, I guess we can only really get a clear look at it through Alex, because I don't know what Latifi's doing. He's just having fun.
But is he having fun? Is what he's doing fun? Like, is that good? Like...
But yeah, that Williams, or that Mercedes and the Williams, I think surprised a whole bunch of people, because Albon was surprised that he competed without pitting for like a while. But
pit the whole race until the last lap. Like, that was crazy.
But he had mentioned that might be also due to tires. So, we'll see. Okay, so those were the preview before the race. Race thoughts 1 to 10, or rate the race 1 to 10.
I got this race being a 6.5. It was meh, like really, like it wasn't average. It was a little above average, because you did have a couple safety cars. You had moments, and you did have like a lot more overtakes on this track than like in previous years. Like I saw back in 2019, there's like only like 12 overtakes, and like in 2018 there's only like 2 overtakes in the whole race, and this year there's a total of like 32 or 37. So I mean, the track changes definitely made a difference, definitely made the race more exciting, but it's still, maybe it's because Leclerc was just dropping everyone, and it's just like so much faster that there wasn't like a really battle in the top. But I mean, for most of the race, it didn't really feel like there was a lot of battles. It kind of felt like everyone was like in their position, and like there'd be occasional like, oh, maybe, oh no, never mind. But then you had Perez going like, I'll just overtake all you guys. Like, goodbye.
Out of my way.
That's why I gave it a 6.5. Like, good. It was a good, fun race, but I guess maybe the previous 2 races kind of set the bar like really high, and it just didn't reach that like expectation.
I agreed with you, or I agree with you, and rate like in the ranking, I also gave it a 6.5. I feel like in terms of actual racing footage, there was a good amount of that, but it just it didn't have the stakes, and it didn't have the consistency, I would say, because most of their overtakes, like I don't know how they counted it, but it seemed like it was just traffic. Like that I think it was probably like 3/4 to the race to the end, that whole DRS train, starting with Stroll, Gasly, Ricardo, that whole mess.
Yeah, and a lot of the overtakes, like what we were saying, were out of the points. So it's like there's no excitement. It's like, oh, cool. Magnussen overtook Strolls for P13. Like it's like, as a viewer, as someone watching, it doesn't matter for me in this race. Like in the whole grand scheme of thing, in the whole season, yes, it does matter.
Yeah.
But like for this race specifically, no.
And also all the moments that usually would bring a Grand Prix excitement, the Charles spinning first lap, that was way before anything, so it didn't bring excitement. I think everyone just was disappointed.
Carlos, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Carlos. Yeah, right. Everyone was just like disappointed rather than like, oh, crazy, like Jeopardy. No, he was just like, Carlos, what is happening? Come on.
Yeah, it was just a terrible 2 laps, and of Carlos. Like it would have been like interesting if he was able to work his way from, because he started at P9, if he was able to work his way up to like podium position or like fourth and then spin out.
Yeah.
And then that like reshuffles the whole like, oh, like this gives like people behind like a chance to catch up or like all that stuff. Like yeah, that's like the kind of like excitement of a spin out. But it's like when you start P9 and then you have, I think it was like anti-stall or
the bad start,
terrible start, and he drops 5 positions off the bat and then gets too eager to try to make up that position to get out of that traffic and ends up spinning out. It's like there's no excitement to that.
Yeah,
it's like
you're just disappointed.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, that's tough. That sucks.
And then the last one being Max's DNF. It literally, the car just turned off and like it caught fire. So
yeah,
wasn't too exciting.
Even though we're saying it was kind of like mid or whatever, it was still a good race.
Yeah. And we're also kind of slightly biased. Me and Timmy literally went from watching 2 banger UFC fights, just getting hammered during that, and then right into the F1 race. So our hype and excitement levels were kind of hard to satisfy that night. But going on to actual race now, the first highlight we're going to talk about is Charles Leclerc absolutely throwing up the do sign to everybody. We already had mentioned a good amount on it earlier. Is there anything else you want to put onto it?
Man, he's kind of looking like Lewis in that Mercedes a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's not even a competition. Like Max has the reliability issue, which is he's not even Perez currently has more points than Max in the drivers' championship. Like that's something I would have, like, if you told me that like before the season, that like 3 races in,
I would have said yes. Perez, I know that.
But it's like, no, there's like no way. There's no way that Max would be behind Perez in points, but he is now. And Charles is just like, he's 40 or 30 whatever points ahead. And at this point, with how strong that car is and how strong Charles has been driving,
Red Bull
he's not going to get touched.
How do I put this? Charles scaring his teammate should scare the rest of the field.
Yeah.
Because you can see it. People might think I'm jumping on like an anti-Carlos bandwagon. I'm not. I'm just saying this man is obviously shook. He's seeing his teammate, the one he beat last year as a first-year Ferrari driver. He's seeing his teammate absolutely run away with the same machinery. But as a competitive person in a very competitive scene, Ferrari, you're going to feel the pressure.
100%.
100%.
Like, that's probably why he hasn't been performing as well as like we thought he would. Is because of that enormous pressure. It's like, oh, this man's like always 3-4 tenths quicker than me and everyone else, and it's like, and I'm like kind of struggling with Perez, and I'm not really at the same level with Max, but Charles is like same level, if not a little bit faster. So yeah, like he's definitely feeling the pressure. Hopefully he can kind of just like
weather the storm,
step back, weather the storm, and like kind of put his head down and like grind it out and get up there, because I'd love to see Carlos winning some races as well. But yeah, Charles is, dude, it's hard to imagine him being touched at this point of the season. And we're only 3 races in, which is crazy.
He is 3 races in and hasn't put a foot wrong yet.
Yeah.
The only session he really, I guess, dropped was the Jeddah qualifying. And that wasn't him dropping. That was Checo absolutely putting his all into that lap. And so, as he said,
his best lap of his life.
Yeah, the lap of
that's
his
what
life.
it takes to out qualify Charles right now. And that's that was 1 lap.
And then even in the race, I can say it now that we're weeks past, but Albon's yellow flag really helped Max win that race.
Saved Max.
Yeah, so I think Charles might start to, open up his stride here and start running away with it. But, fingers crossed. Still want a competitive and like exciting season later in the season, but it's hard to not it's hard to be blind to the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
On the flip side, of that, our next highlight, or I guess would be a low light for most, including myself, would be Max's retirement. You had mentioned earlier that we both missed it, but I think just, I don't want to say repercussions, but the waves that this event sends through the whole championship, I think is very spicy, because three big things happen with Max's retirement. Charles is starting to clear in driver's standings, because in, I think, the 2 episodes before this, we had both easily agreed Charles v Max this season, right? It's not that point. It's not that simple anymore. Charles is running away. Secondly, Checo being ahead of Max. I know it's only the 3rd race, but history has it as up to this point, 2 out of 3 races Max retired. So, that car might have more bugs in the future. What happens if Checo continues to hold and extend said number 1 driver points? How long do they give Max? Max, you're a boy, but points wise, we're gonna have to start focusing on my man Checo here.
Yes, sir.
So that's the second thing. Third thing, Mercedes is cleared, not clear, but Mercedes is no longer just 1 point ahead of Red Bull. Because before Australia, we're all saying, oh, Mercedes is holding on to second place because they're 1 point ahead, or they're given second place. But now after Australia, they're like, we're still here. This is ours. And so I think it affects it, or Max's retirement affects so much. And at the end of the day, it was also a boring retirement. So
yeah. And another thing, one more point to add on to that is George Russell is in second place now.
Oh yeah.
In the drivers' championship. So it's but you're not gonna say Charles versus George for the championship. And we said, at this point, it's Charles versus Charles.
Yeah.
He's the only person that's gonna stop him, or unless if
Carlos
awakens some animal, something hidden inside of him, and then it becomes a little spicy Ferrari v Ferrari for the drivers. But I don't see that happening.
The only chance that the rest of the field has to catch Charles Leclerc is if there's 5 Monaco Grand Prix in a row, because Charles and Monaco just don't work together. Oh. He's never finished a race over there. So Max is like, can we have Monaco 6 times, please?
And I guess one last point, it's he hasn't finished, or it's that his engine or some part of his car has failed 2 out of 3 races. Statistically, that is very bad reliability.
Yeah, very
you're
bad.
Only finishing 33% of the race. So are they gonna does the reliability change? What are they able to fix that? Is his car turning off or shutting down because he's trying to push so hard to just stay close to Charles? Is that why his car's been turning off and Perez has been able to finish 2 of the 3 races? So there's a lot of question marks that Red Bull have to answer, and it causes a lot of concerns for
they got 2 weeks
too.
So I'm going to try to get one of this every single episode. Silver linings.
Fred's silver lining.
Max either wins or finishes.
Yeah. But as of right now,
no, we don't gotta go to numbers. Leave it at that. Leave it as the most broad and just overarching stat. He either wins or DNFs. So
I'll give you your silver lining, Fred. He wins or DNFs.
On to the third highlight, another DNF, the Sebastian Vettel retirement. It wasn't a nasty crash, but it's still he took a pretty big shunt. He hit the wall a couple times.
Lost his whole front wing.
I thought it was a little funny. Even the announcers, they're like, "Oh, there wasn't a crash," or he just car turned off, and then they went through it. They showed the replay. They're like, "Oh, there was a crash."
Yeah.
But the way he ended it was just 360, just rolling.
Yeah, it looked like his car shut down.
Yeah.
But the commentators with no chill were It's like, oh, I guess Seb's getting on the scooter again. It's like, hey, tough weekend.
Dude, him and that
For
scooter
Seb.
driver are just, they got each other on speed dial now. Seb's
Yeah,
got his
right.
number, his Snapchat, his Instagram. Dude, he knows him.
It's real unfortunate. Especially I mean, because we're Seb fans and you want to see him do well. Unfortunately, Aston Martin, they don't, their car is very bad.
They don't got the machinery right now.
It's not good. And then it's tough coming. He missed the first 2 weeks or 2 races because of COVID. So he's doesn't have as nearly as much experience with the car as all the other drivers, and he's trying to make up for it. And he's trying to do a solid for me by returning in style, but instead he returned into the wall and did not finish. So
my last like point on this, the Seb retirement, I don't know if it's, I think it's, I'm feeding into the commentators like propaganda or like their storylines that they're trying to throw out there, but I'm kind of getting scared that Seb's gonna call it quits.
like, oh, this year,
Yeah,
last
like
year?
not even finish the season. Just be like, all right.
Oh, really?
That's what I don't know. Listening to like the commentators on F1 TV kind of got me like scared. The way they were making him sound is like, yeah, if I was a 4-time world champion, I wouldn't want to be in a bottom feeder team too, which makes sense.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's more so because his teammate slammed Stroll, but
He's like, for my own safety, I gotta get out of here.
Just how you'll always try to sneak in a silver lining. I'll always try to sneak in a jab against Lance Stroll.
we have different priorities, Timmy and I.
That man deserves it. He is a hazard. He's dangerous. Like, if anyone should leave that team, it's him.
There was some Canadian on Canadian crime during qualifying.
Yeah, that was scary. But why check your mirrors when like, why use them?
Why have them? Make the car lighter. Make the car lighter.
Maybe you go faster. Like you're not gonna use them. Why need them?
Or going to the next point. We have Alex Albon and his tire god performance. He said, "Why do I need to change tires?
Yeah,
let me just do this. I don't need," like, he wanted to give his mechanics the night off. They're like, you've been working so hard because of Latifi. You guys just need a rest. So I'm gonna go a whole race and you guys just kick your feet up and watch how this car is supposed to perform.
Yeah. Instead of going out and buying them dinner, he's like, I won't even like let you guys change my tires.
Yeah. This is basically the only reason why
off for them. The only reason why he changed his tires was because it was a rule.
Yeah.
Like he would have been completely fine finishing the race. He would have finished in 7th or 8th, like because of the rule, he had to change it and was able to sneak into the points in 10th position. Yeah, tire guy but I feel like Perez is still.
Yeah, let's not throw around. Let's not disrespect the one and only tire god.
He's kind of like
Sergio Perez.
Tire prince, or like tire demigod, if you want to like put it in that sense. But I mean, amazing performance, amazing race. Like the fact that he was able to get up to 7th place on 50 plus old lap tires is just amazing. And he started last because of the being disqualified. Qualifying. But yeah, so going from P20 to P10, so great job by him. And can't really give credit can't really give credit to his team because they didn't really have to do much, but they just put on the tires before the race. They're like, all right, good, go out there.
See you later.
Yeah.
The last 2 points I have on this, one, after or in the post race, Alex Albon and Lando Norris both were I guess interviewed at the same time, and Lando was even caught off guard because Lando thought he was joking. Lando was like, "Where'd you finish, mate?" And then he was like, "P10." And then Lando was like, "Oh," and then the lady interviewing Rosanna was like, "Yeah, no, it was P10."
Lando's like, good one. No, but seriously, where'd you finish? 15, 16? Yeah. Like
no, even because then Alex like explained, he's like, I didn't change tires. I changed basically the last lap, and then Norris was like, "Oh, good on you." So there's that, and then I guess the closing on a serious note for it, Albon had said that this shows that no one really understands tires this year because, like,
So he knows something that other people don't. Is that
no, not that, because he even said that we have to go and figure out why these tires lasted for so long and why they lasted so well for so long. But he even pointed out that in qualifying, some teams are going for the one warm up and then go lap. Some teams like Red Bull have gone for 2 warm up and then the third is their flyer.
Yeah.
So he's saying that all the teams like are caught with their pants down trying to figure this out. And he doesn't want to say this is a win for the Williams. Like, it obviously is, but he doesn't want to say that like Williams did something groundbreaking to figure it out. He's just saying that we somehow got this happy accident and we're gonna like stick with it. So yeah.
I don't know how we got here, but I'm glad that we did.
You could even say that about our next point.
Speaking of not knowing how they got there,
George Russell, that he has our 5th race highlight. He finished on the podium.
First podium
as a technically first real podium. Spa 2021 does not count in a lot of people's books when he qualified P2 and then the race started.
Well, it counted until he got podium yesterday. So now it doesn't count.
Now it doesn't count. Now this is his real first podium, but also just his first podium as a Mercedes driver.
Yeah.
So, once again, golf clap to George Russell. But I think this is due to compounding factors, due to Max DNFing. Carlos, I feel like could have made a play for 4th or 5th. Or 3rd or 4th if, he didn't want to be like his dad and go rally racing. And then the last point being the Seb safety car. Really, like, because he was even like, "Oh, happy days." That was his exact quote. They asked him, well, "How did you feel when you heard there was a safety car for Seb?" And he's like, "Happy days." And he said, "That's the game. Some days people are sometimes it screws you over. Sometimes you get a slight victory from it. And in this case, the victory being 3rd place." So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him. Like, obviously he raced a good race to get 3rd. It was kind of interesting that Mercedes didn't allow Lewis to go fight him.
I thought his quote was a little passive aggressive. Lewis's, "You guys put me in a real sticky or tough situation," or whatever he said.
He said, "You guys put me in a really bad position, a really bad situation."
Yeah.
So I mean, he's 7-time champion. He's a little salty that his team's telling him he can't race the first year new guy for a podium. Like, it's one thing where if you're like trying to fight for like 8th or like 6th, it's like, yeah, okay, hold on, let's secure our points, let's get it. But telling your 7-time champion, like, no, you can't fight for a podium in the last couple race when it's the 3rd race of the season too. So it's like everything's kind of like in the air. It's like, I feel like it's kind of fair game, but Mercedes is like kind of with that philosophy. It's like, you need to be able to finish the race to get points. So let's both finish the race.
I think, playing devil's advocate, I can see why Mercedes did it though, because they know that their situation that they're in, even though going into the season, some people like myself saw them as like a favorite for winning the constructors. I think they have come to terms and have accepted the fact that they're not the big dogs anymore. So they have to be okay with accepting these 3rd and 4th at the end of the day are really good points.
Yeah. When you're not even the second fastest car or best team. That's a great position.
you have to take all these points as you can now, because you never know, what if reliability starts affecting them once they start making their changes to try to be competitive. So I understand their concern, but one, as a fan of the sport, and slight bias. Like if we had to say which driver am I like more of a fan of, I would side with Lewis over George.
Yeah.
So that with that also being a slight bias, and then finally just wanting to, Checo wasn't going to catch Charles, and George wasn't going to catch Checo.
Yeah.
And so for there to be like a serious like fight with stakes, it was going to be the Hamilton v Russell, but they like called that off. So I was like, man,
definitely would have bumped it up to like maybe a 7.5, 8 kind of rating of a race if they allowed the Mercedes to fight each other. But
yeah,
unfortunately, Toto's smart. The Mercedes, like, they won 8 in a row constructive championship for a reason. They're gonna get the points, take the points that they're given. Like they know they were able to fall upwards towards podium. So you're gonna take that victory and not risk someone, one or even both of them, crashing and not finishing.
And then all of a sudden we have a Lando Norris podium, which
Lando, yeah, and then Daniel Ricciardo
P4,
fourth.
yeah, which would be the best homecoming for him.
Yeah,
Like that case,
that would have been really good.
But you know, we were, I guess, in a way denied that, and George was the beneficiary of it all.
Yeah, Mercedes is a bunch of fun haters. That's what I've learned.
No fun, just results. So those were our 5 highlights from this week's race. Going back to last week's review, we also like to find the American professional sporting game or event that kind of compares to this race. This race being a little tricky, so I'm going to explain the breakdown we use for the race, and then Timmy, since he is the one who ended up finding the game, he'll explain it, and then I'll chime in because the game hurts a little bit. But so the way Timmy and I saw the race was Charles, one of the favorites, one of the all-stars of the sport, absolutely dominated, showed us why he is, I guess some people may say he's overhyped, some people say he's underhyped. Like, he's the real deal. That's what he showed this past Saturday night for Americans, Sunday midday for Australians. That's what he showed. And then his nearest rival, or his like quote unquote pristine like rival, had a really tough day at the office. Like, he didn't, absolutely have a giant stinker where, didn't even start the race or had a fat crash. He just competed up until the point that his car said, I'm done. We're done for the day. And then other than that, the rest of the race was kind of just meh. Like a few mix-ups here and there, but that was the premise of it. The all-star just showing his dominance.
Yeah, so the American game comp that I found that kind of best represented this race was the at the time San Diego Chargers versus
what it should be. I just want to put that out there. That's what it should be. The
San Diego Chargers versus the Minnesota Vikings back in 2007. Travel with us back in time. 2007, the NFL landscape is completely different than what it is today. At the time, running backs were like top end. Like that is much what your offense
needed.
Yes. So, and thinking back in 2007, you have LT with the Chargers and AP with the Vikings. And so I know this matchup was definitely hyped up, as in like these two top end running backs going head to head, who's going to come out on top. And what ended up happening was just absolute utter domination of AP over the Chargers, and LT just, it's hard to say that it's his fault. He probably
didn't play defense.
Yeah, he didn't play defense, and the Minnesota Vikings defense, if I remember correctly, is pretty good at that time. But the stat line just shows LT 16 carries, 40 yards, 1 touchdown, and then Anderson Peterson with 30 carries, 296 yards.
I think that's a record also.
and 4 touchdowns, or three or four touchdowns. So it's just like, you think these two guys are gonna go like drive for drive, like getting all these big plays, explosive plays, because that's the players that they are, and then one of them just goes, hold my beer, essentially, and just absolutely poops on the other person.
So this is growing up, I wasn't like, glued to my screen every Sunday and watching football, especially Chargers football, as much as I am now. But I do remember like watching a few clips. I don't know if it was whether highlights or watching it live, because that's quite a while ago. But I just remembered vividly being so broken, because not broken in the fact that we lost. I wasn't. I'm a very like honest fan. If we suck, we suck. If we're good, I'm going to be toxic. But that's neither here or there. But I was like, oh well, we lost. Whatever's the can't be too bad. But the part that broke me was I'm a huge player fan, or like person fan. That's why I don't necessarily consider myself a Red Bull fan. I'm a Max and Checo guy, right? And then for the Chargers back then, wasn't the hugest Chargers fan, even though I would say I was, but I was a Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers, LT guy, Vincent Jackson, the all their characters. I was a fan of their characters. And so one of the characters being Eric Weddle. And that game was just a bad game for the entire Chargers defense. But Adrian Peterson specifically took his left arm and said, Eric, I want you to meet the grass. Get off me, son. And I was like, Eric, you're our best offender. And he disrespected you.
And then he continued to respect the rest of the defense the whole game.
You know how like if you're watching a fight and you want the corner to throw in the towel? I wanted our head coach to be like, stop the game. Dude, it was tough. I'm pretty sure that's a record.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine anyone else almost getting 300 yards in a single game.
Regular season game.
Yeah. This was not even a playoff game. It was regular season.
But yeah, that was our American comparison. We can move past it because it hurt. No,
any silver linings from that game?
LT scored a touchdown. I don't know.
We didn't get shut out.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You can see why I'm so good at this now. I've had a lot of years to prepare. But
that's funny.
To end the review, we're gonna go ahead with our awards. And our first award being our Driver of the Day award, as always, our Do It for Dale. We are giving, or I guess we'll list the nominations.
List the nominees.
Yeah. We'll list the nominees first before we go ahead and say who Tim and I believe it is. So for the Dale, we have the options being Charles Leclerc for chucking up the deuce to everybody. Alex Albon for him going, as long as he did. Checo Perez for showing that a dominant team has a dominant car and just passing the other would-be cars. And then the final being the safety scooter driver. I don't want to call him the safety car driver because, he's whipping around a Vespa. But we have him because he did a very good job of getting Seb back to the Aston Martin garage quite a few times. Nicholas Latifi back there, Lance Stroll, and I think he also got Carlos Sainz back to the house or back to the garage. So
he was definitely working overtime this weekend.
He worked overtime as Williams took the day off. But yeah, I gave it. I'm probably gonna give it slight bias maybe, but it was exciting. I'm gonna give it to Checo because I could see Charles winning more Driver of the Days later, but this Checo P2 bunch of overtakes. What isn't there to give to him besides him not winning? So I'm gonna give it to him.
And I'm going to Mr. Tire God or Tire Demigod, Alex Albon. I mean, the fact that you go from P20 and you finish P10 in that Williams car that has shown to not have the best pace, to not be the best car on the track.
They
and
said
the dude all in the same set of tires the whole race. That's just I've never seen anything like that before.
Crazy.
It like blew my mind away. So I can't justify giving this award to anyone else.
tip my hat off to Alex Albon as well, because he even said like at the end or post-race stuff that he said that their pre-race meeting they discussed fighting for P19 and P20.
Really?
So P10 is like star and moon above what they were like shooting for. So yeah,
Leagues ahead. Yeah. That's awesome.
Those are the Dale awards, the Dale nominees: Charles, Alex, Checo, scooter driver. Second award being the big brain, the Omaha, the Peyton Manning award. We have two options, two nominees. We have the prior or as aforementioned Alex Albon with Williams, and them deciding to just send it to the end, because going back to Alex Albon's post race comments, he has said that the team basically asked him in code, "Can you make it to the end?" And he was like, "Yeah, basically, yeah."
That's
and
awesome.
so he ended up making to the end, holding on to the 10th place. I thought he was going to get snaked for 10th, honestly, and that would have broke my heart. I would have been like, this race sucks.
Yeah,
this race terrible.
2 out of 10.
But he held on to the 10th. And then I guess this is like an attempt at tire god status, but it didn't really pay out. It kind of did, I guess. But the Aston Martin version of it with Lance Stroll, they as soon as Carlos Sainz did his trip into the rocks, he wanted to study geology. So Lance Stroll ended up changing his tires, and then changing his tires back to what he changed it. Because their plan was they started on the hards, and then the first safety car lap, went in, changed for the mediums, went in again. And in fact, I had asked Timmy, why are they showing a replay of a pit? And Timmy was like, no, that's live. And I was like, oh my God, there isn't a big red thing that says replay. So they put him back on the hards, and they just sent him for the remainder of the race. But going from P19 and finishing P12 isn't a huge jump. Like, it's not we're not singing his praises because he didn't score points, but it's still going to help them in the long run.
Yeah,
I guess P12 is a 7th-place jump, so I guess it did.
I think that's the best. That's like that ties the highest that he's finished this year. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
pretty good. Like there weren't a lot of like options to pick from.
Yeah,
because there weren't a lot of big brain or like Peyton Manning type plays.
Yeah,
or strategies. Like, so we're kind of grasping at straws, right?
Yeah.
with this one.
So
I think the clear winner is Williams, but
yep,
and
Williams
that's like
and the
who I
Albon
picked.
combo. Yeah,
who I voted for. So
got my vote as well. Onto our third award. This one we do have 4. As always, the third award being the meme of the weekend. I have 2. Timmy has 2 nominations. My first nomination being the scooter meme. You choose it, doesn't matter. I've seen someone photoshopped Uber Eats onto Seb when he was on a scooter by himself. My cousin sent me on Instagram a reel of someone had like modded their Gran Turismo game and put in Sebastian Vettel on a scooter, and so he's zooming through the track. I thought that was hilarious. So any scooter meme, and even if you want to like throw in like the scooter driver winning the screwdriver winning like driver of the week, I think that's funny. And then my other nomination being a young tire god has arrived, or the arrival of a tire rival to Checo Perez with Alex Albon's 57 lap stint. And so, I've seen one where it was like, it's from Kung Fu Panda. It's like, finally a worthy rival. And so, yeah, those are my 2 memes.
Yeah. Hold on, I have to remember my second one.
It was the Russell Ham.
Oh yeah, that's right. So so for my 2 memes, I went with there's only one picture. I don't know how many like other kind of memes came from it, but it was like what Russell was saying after Mercedes told Lewis not to race for podium. And so it was just like a clip of Malcolm or a picture of Malcolm in the middle. It's like the future's now, old man. So I got a good kick out of that. I thought that was really funny. And then my second one is any of the Charles Leclerc trying to set another fastest lap when he set 7 consecutive fastest laps, and he's like he goes, he's like, do we need to set a fastest lap? Like, should I be trying to push that? He's like, no, I don't think it'll get touched. Like, you're fine. And he and he replies with like, okay, but like, okay, fine. And just ends at that. So there's been some pretty good memes of him being like that SpongeBob one where it's like, you want me to go to that rock or run to that rock? You want to see me do it again? Like, there's some pretty good ones. So I really enjoy that format this week.
So you guys will let us know who wins that award by visiting our social media, specifically our Instagram at REDEFINED. Go ahead and vote. Timmy will have them posted by the time you guys probably hear this. On to our second to last award, being our Nate Peterman, the Pete.
The Pete.
We got 4 nominations, or I guess denominations, because you don't want to be nominated for this. Oh, hold on. But we have the Canadian Lord of Chaos himself, Lance Stroll, for having, just no peripheral vision. This is not mainly during the race. This is more for his qualifying. So he's up there. His teammate is sadly up there for the whole weekend, basically, practice, qualifying, and race. Carlos Sainz for his 2-lap rally finish. And then finally, Alonso, not necessarily for having a horrid weekend, because qualifying, he had the pace in the bag, like purple sector 1, purple sector 2. And then, the crash. So not really, like, it is kind of on him, but also kind of not. He was pushing. You'd much rather see your driver crash while pushing than, Latifi it. So, yeah. But in the race, he got a bit gung-ho or too gung-ho and grained his front left tire. So he got stuck in the traffic. But granted, that was also cause and effect from, as the aforementioned Canadian Lord of Chaos, Lance Stroll, holding up a fat DRS train. So, yeah. Who do you have for the Pete?
Lance Strolls.
You going with Stroll?
I'm going with Strolls. The crash that he caused during qualifying with Latifi, which is terrible, completely avoidable.
Both of the reason, I will say, I will give more to Stroll, but both of the reasoning is so just.
They're both in the wrong.
Smooth brained. Let's say that.
They're both in the wrong, but Stroll's, it's like, dude, you got mirrors. Like, you have you never been in a car before? Like,
yeah.
like, look around.
You're a professional.
And I think what really pissed me off is his explanation, or his like, sorry of an excuse of an explanation. He's like, well, or he'll be like, well, like,
I told you.
He does do that. And I was editing a video and like listening to the post qualifying interviews, and I just hear, and I'm like, who's in my ear right now? Like, that's disgusting. But he was saying like, oh, the track, like, it like tilts to the right that way, so that's why my car tilted to the right into Latifi. It's like, what? So that's like what really pissed me off. And then also during the race, he's like very dangerously defending against Bottas holding up that DRS train.
I thought that
he was swerving all over the track, and like kind of like Bottas is like, hey, I don't want to get strolled. Like, I saw what happens. Like,
yeah,
kind of keep your distance away from this crazy guy. So I mean, but that's kind of why I'm giving him the Pete.
That's fair. I did think the swerving was very scumbaggy. That was.
Yeah, he's not very Canadian.
Yeah,
he wasn't very friendly on that.
No, but I think I would have to give it the Pete to Carlos Sainz. Like, Seb had a rough day, but just like how I gave Danny Ricciardo the benefit of the doubt last year, this is an extreme case of that. He's very new to the car, still figuring out the demons, the bugs in the car. So I don't want to put the blame all on him. But Carlos Sainz, it's kind of hard not to. He is in the car this year.
Yeah.
You ask Max Verstappen if he would like to switch places with Carlos Sainz, I would sure he would say yes before the question even finished. And so, I'm going off of pure the performance part of Max.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
doesn't want to straight up.
I get what you're saying.
Red Bull,
I'm like, man, I don't know about that. But yeah.
But-
if you could change the cars and slap a Red Bull sticker on it, yes. I agree.
Yeah. And so him not only having a crap qualifying P9 that started the snowball, and then the bad start, that's when the snowball got bigger, and then all of a sudden it's an avalanche, I guess, when he made it in the rocks. Or I guess that's when the ball stopped, because you can't get any worse than that. You bend it going not even DRS wasn't even activated yet. And so
It was the second lap of the whole race.
I feel like it was, he knew he had the faster car on the track, compared to anyone near him that wasn't named Charles Leclerc. So I think he just got too excited. He didn't want to get stuck in traffic, and how Checo got stuck behind Perez. Checo got stuck behind Lewis, and then the front two started pulling off. He didn't want that, but he ended up something much worse. He ended up, changing out of his race gear before the other racers even broke a sweat. So yeah, I think he earned my Pete Award. On to our last award, the Big Body Shaq Award. We have 3 nominees. The first one being Checo for the masterclass that he displayed for basically the whole race. He passed Lewis Hamilton around the outside of, I think, before 11 and 12 without DRS.
Yeah, he was just, that car is just so much faster. He was like, let me just, excuse me.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
So he had 3 overtakes.
Yes, or 4. He had 4.
He had 4, but then he also he never got threatened by these guys. As soon as he cleared them, he was gone. Besides, I think when his first stint started, or his first tire started degging, Lewis kind of was sniffing behind him, but he handled Lewis and then started clearing him. But the second nominee was for Bottas. He had 4 as well, I believe.
I believe so, 3 or 4.
And then
I don't remember exactly.
The first one, I forget who he pulled it off on, but I thought that move around the outside was chef's kiss.
Yeah, probably besides Sergio, definitely the best overtake of the race.
Mm-hmm. And then the final, is quality, but this one is quantity. Not to say that they're bad, but Kevin Magnussen, for his 7 overtakes, he led the entire weekend. He led the entire grid this weekend for a number of overtakes. I think me and Timmy had already spoken about this beforehand. We both agree it's Sergio Perez.
Yeah, Bottas had the one good overtake, but then his other overtakes were kind of part of that DRS train where you're just changing position from 12th to 11th, back to 12th, back to 11th.
Yeah.
And then Magnussen, kind of the same stuff. Although he had 7 overtakes, a lot of them were meaningless, so to say. Obviously no overtakes aren't ever meaningless, but they're for the back of the grid. Whereas Perez, all his overtakes were to put himself into second place.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just a little more value, and he was doing it against better competition. So that's why I gave him my vote.
Yep. So we got Checo Big Body this week.
Big Body.
Those are our 5 awards. We talked about our predictions from going into the week. Both ranked at a 6.5. Talked about the race highlights, compared it to the Chargers v Vikings in 2007. Any closing thoughts from yourself, Timmy, on the 2022 Australian Grand Prix?
Although I haven't watched the other ones, of the other races of Australian in like 2018, 2019. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because it seems like those were pretty boring races. So I have a good taste of this track. I hope it stays, but you never know. Everything's kind of like on the chopping block right now with Vegas coming back or coming in. And I mean, we ranked it a 6.5. I don't know how like whoever makes the schedules see that. They might like look at the viewership and everything, because at the end of the day, in all sports, money talks. So hopefully, but it was a good race, fun race. Looking forward to next one is where's the next race?
Imola, so Italy.
Imola. Ooh, Italy. First Italy race. And that's in 2 weeks. So okay, yeah, but yeah. Looking forward to that race, obviously.
Closing thoughts from myself. Biggest disappointment from this weekend is the fact that we didn't get a Daniel Ricciardo shoey. And, you know, that was just a hope and a prayer that he maybe got into the podium. But other than that, I think this weekend, as much as we love F1 can't deliver absolute flames, absolute fire every single race. Just like how every NFL game won't be a banger, there'll be some F1 races that are just meh. And this was unfortunately our first taste of that this season. But even with that being said, the change in the rules and the tracks showing willingness to adapt as well is showing that everyone is working together to get this back on to be the exciting entity that it once was. You know, we don't have to rely on the FIA like last year pulling strings to make it exciting. We can just have a straight up exciting, you know, battle. Hopefully Red Bull can figure this stuff out so it can be, you know, have the stakes as well. But I think this year is showing that even a boring race will have excitement. So yeah, those are my closing thoughts.
Social media in the description. Go follow our TikTok and Instagram, please.
Yeah,
we need some more interaction. And
let me go ahead and read. Our TikTok is at REDEFINED, REDEF1NED. That is the same as our YouTube and our Twitter.
Yep. And then Instagram's the only one that's different. It's Redefine F1. Again, all these links will be down in the description. So go follow us.
Mm-hmm. With all of that being said, you guys take it easy.
Explain the difference.
Yeah, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport.